All right, welcome back everyone. Today I'm just going to be doing a quick review and giving you some tips on the Cuisinart CBK 110, which is my compact bread maker. It makes the 1.5, and 2 pound loaves. It's fantastic for either a small family, 2, 3, 4 people, or even single people. Really easy to use. There's really only three parts to it: the actual machine, the pan that twists right out, the kneading paddle. These two right here, you have to hand wash. You can't use a dishwasher on these. Uh, and as far as the inside of the bread maker, you want to use a lightly damp towel and kind of wipe it once it's done. So that's just a real quick overview. I'll go into the details of it right now and give you a close-up of the machine, and we'll talk about all its functions. All right, so like I was saying, this is a really simple machine. I love it. I've put through probably a few hundred loaves through this, as well as cakes and other sweets and doughs. So we'll get started. If you look right across the top here, it actually has all your program settings, whether it's white, French, whole wheat, ultra fast, and it tells you what the corresponding number is. So it makes it a lot easier so that you don't have to refer back to the owner's manual. So if I want to make white bread, usually when you turn it right on, it'll pop up as 1. But if I'm making, say, jam or dough, I need to change it to 8 or 9. I'm going to go ahead and use the program button and watch this number right here. It'll go through 2, 3, 4, and so on through all the program cycles, so you can get to any number you want. So if you actually play around with your machine a little bit, you'll notice that some of these programs allow you to pick a size of a loaf, and some don't. So for example, program number 8, it's dough. And so if you look here, it just tells you it's going to take an hour and a half to knead and let rise the dough so it's just right when you use it. If you end up using, for example, cycle 1, which is just regular white bread, it's set here to 1.5 pounds. But if I want to change it to a different size, say 2 pounds, it changes the corresponding time. So you want to keep an eye out for that as well. If you're doing something like dough or jam or cake, there's no weight setting. So you have to make sure the recipe that you're using is either from the instruction manual or a site that corresponds with Cuisinart bread machines, so that you don't overfill it. You want to make sure that it's just enough for this machine, so it's not too little or not too much. So I know I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but it's easier just to go through stuff like that. So again, when you're looking at the display, the first number you'll see on the upper left corresponds with whatever program it's set to, the bread. Then you'll see a weight. It says here 2 pounds, and you can change that, cycle through between 1 pound, press the program button again, 1.5 pounds, or 2 pounds. If you look in the middle on the left hand side, you'll see like a slice of toast. The button that changes this is the color button. So if it's at the very top and it's empty inside, that's a light crust. You go down and it has those little hash marks, that's a medium crust. And then if it's solid, that's a dark crust. So again, that's preference for anyone. On all the bread cycles, you can change it. Make it light, medium, or dark. I went over the size a little bit. Use the size button for 1, 1.5, and 2 pounds. And there's also a second function here, the light bulb that comes right next to the size. There's a few people that I told this to that had some questions, and they were surprised. They completely forgot that this has a light. If you hold it down for a little bit, you'll actually notice inside it'll light it up. And what this does is it helps you look inside and see if it's, for example, incorporating all the flour into the dough, if it's kneading properly, or maybe you need to open it up and use a spatula to scrape off the sides. So that's a big help. And to turn it off, you just hold it down for a few seconds and it'll turn off as well. The last button over here is the start stop button. And so I know you probably noticed it a few times. After less than a minute, this will automatically turn off if you're not using it. You can press the start button to pop, just like it did right now. Press the start button, it'll turn it on. If this is actually working and it's kneading or it's baking and you want to pause it because you want to check something, scrape the sides or add something, there's actually a pause function. And it's kind of a little bit hard to show it right now just because I'm not doing anything. But if you hold this down for about 3 seconds, it'll actually pause. So what I had done right there is I started a cycle. There's nothing in there, but I started it, and what you heard was the paddle spinning and kneading, and then I pressed it for about 2-3 seconds and it paused it. And to get out of pause, you just press it back down and it'll start up again. So holding it down for about 4 or 5 seconds, a little bit longer even, will actually turn it off. Will stop the whole cycle. So those are just a few of the cycles. The last buttons that I'll go over is this minus and plus button. And what these do is adjust the time. So whatever bread that you're baking, say for example, it has 3 hours and 30 minutes, but for whatever reason, maybe you're at a higher altitude or it's a very cold location, you want to bake it a little bit longer because those things do matter in extremes. You can add a little bit of time, 10 minutes at a time. And so you probably don't want to do this in most of the standard settings. But if you're using, for example, something like the bake setting and you're using a recipe from a friend or something that you looked up online and it doesn't have a standard time in the machine, you can actually adjust that time. So I might set it to number 12. And then its standard is an hour and 40 minutes. That's what pops up automatically. But say I want an hour and 30 minutes, a little bit less time, hour and 20 minutes. You can adjust it that way. So an hour and 40 minutes is the maximum time. You can adjust down from there. If you go to any of the others, you can do the same thing. Say that you're on setting number 2, French bread. You can make it 13 hours. You can do 4 hours and 20 minutes. So you can play around with that. And another good reason to know this is, say for example, this has happened to me a few times when I'm first trying out a new recipe and maybe the bread comes out a little bit doughy inside. The second time I'll try it, I'll adjust the time. I'll add 10 minutes, I'll add 20 minutes, knowing that the previous bread was a little bit doughy, and so I want to bake it a little bit longer. So one of the other things that I want to remind you about, I know I showed you the pan as well as the kneading paddle, but this just is a little bit better look at how to take it out. So if you're doing this after baking, make sure you use oven mitts. There's also a little metal hook that comes with this when it's new. I lost mine a long time ago, but you can actually hook it on, twist and pull off. If not, just know that it's super hot, so you want to use some oven mitts. This is actually off, so I don't have to worry. You're just going to twist to the left if you're facing it and pull it right out. And then if you're looking inside, there's the kneading paddle inside there, and that just twists right off. As far as the interior of the machine, you want to make sure that the machine is off and unplugged if you want to actually wipe down the interior, and that it's had a long time to cool down, because there are actually those coils that run along the inside. That's a heating element. It heats everything, It's very, very hot. So make sure it's unplugged, it's off, and it's had time to cool down. And then all you need to do to clean it, just get the paper towel that just a little bit damp and go in there, wipe down any flour that might have fallen over the sides and got down to the bottom, just to make sure you keep it clean and it doesn't impact the heating element.